Hello, dears, and welcome back to podcast number 7. Well, we'll be talking about the academic writing test. Um, the IELTS academic writing test is designed to test your ability to write in clear, coherent, and well organized English. There are two writing tasks, and you have 1 hour to complete both tasks. And the instruction advise you to spend about 20 minutes on task one and 40 minutes on task two. So you can decide how to organize your time, but it's best to follow this advice. Let's take each task and talk about them. In task one, you are going to see some visual information on the question paper. It's called visual cue. For example, there may be a chart, a graph, a table, a diagram, or a map, or a plan. I have all of these discussed and talked about. I have talked about them in some of my YouTube videos, so please feel free to check them where I go through each step of the writing process. So, your job is to describe this visual information in your own words. There is absolutely no need to give your opinion about the data or to interpret the information in any way because you only need to describe. So only a simple description is required. However, in task two, a point of view or argument is presented on the question paper, and here your job is to comment on this, to give your own opinions with examples from your own knowledge and experience. In task two, you have to write more words and you're going to have more time and more marks are available. So this doesn't mean that task one is easier to write. No, no, no. In fact, you may have more experience of writing opinion essays, and so you may find this type of task easier than describing visual information. Um, the main difference between task one and two is that task one only calls for a simple description, whereas in task two, you're expected to give your opinion. And basically, the things which are the simplest one are the most complicated. But let me give you more details about each task. For task one, as I told you, you're going to see some sort of visual information which you need to describe. And as I said, a map, diagram, showing a process or how something works, or statistical information may be presented in the form of line graphs, bar charts, tables, or pie charts. And this information often describes how something has changed over time, and there may be two sets of visual information sometimes to compare. As I said, your job is to describe the most important points in the statistical or diagrammatic information in your own words. If you have statistics, you usually need to select and report on the most important features of the task to identify trends, to compare and contrast data. For map tasks, you often have to compare the features of a place over time. For example, a map of a town today compared with one of the same town, let's say 20 years ago. In diagram tasks, you usually have to describe a process. For example, how a product is made or how a piece of equipment functions. I know this might sound as gibberish, but again, have a look on the playlist on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to explain and break down each type of tasks. Um, Moving on to task two, here you have to write an essay. You're asked to give your opinion about a contemporary issue, and you also have to support your opinion with reasons and examples from your own knowledge and experience. And you're going to have this in the on the actual question paper. So the issue that you have to write about is given on the question paper, and there is no choice of topic. It's mandatory. But the issues included are familiar ones that most students already know quite a lot about. So not all tasks are the same, yeah, but you may you may be asked to present a solution to a problem, present justify an opinion, or to compare and contrast evidence and the opinions of of other people. So the task of the question paper often takes the form of a brief general statement, and you have to say to what extent you agree or disagree with it. You may present two sides um, of an argument and ask you to discuss these views before giving your own opinion, or you might be given a problem and the task asks you to describe possible causes and give solutions. Again, you don't need any special knowledge to do any of these tasks, and you're marked on your use of language rather than your opinions. Let me give you some tasks to topics. So technology, culture, education, family, health, friendship, transportation, the environment, travel, crime. I don't think about crime as in killing people, like, felonies, work and entertainment. So there's, I'm sure you've heard or read or listened to about these topics in your daily life. Now, let's move on and talk about the marking criteria. There's a lot to talk about here, so I'm going to briefly explain you what each criterion is about. We're going to have a different podcast about this. I want you to know that writing tasks are marked by extremely trained examiners according to very detailed criteria. The criteria you're going to find online are the public version. What they have, we don't know. Yeah, so we have like a little bit of a sneak peek on what you're going to be assessed. The two tasks are marked separately, and each is given a band score from 0 to 9. Half band scores are also possible. For example, you can be given 4.5. You also have to know that task 2 accounts for 2/3 of your overall writing score, and task 1 accounts for 1/3. Or simply put, task 2 is twice more valuable than task 1. So there are four marking criteria, and each of these criteria counts equally towards your score for each task. In task 1, you have task achievement. What does it mean? Here, the examiner is going to assess whether you have fulfilled the task. For example, have you included all the relevant information in your own words? And most importantly, did you write at least 150 words? For task 2, we have task response, which means that the assessor is going to check whether you have fulfilled the task, if you have addressed all the points in the task, if you have supported all your ideas with examples and readers, if you stay on topic, and if you wrote at least 250 words. Then the third one is actually the second one is coherence and cohesion. Here, the examiner is going to assess your ability to write a coherent and cohesive answer. For example, is your answer organized in a clear and logical way? Is there a smooth flow of ideas? Have you used paragraphs effectively? Are your paragraphs, sentences, clauses joined together with appropriate linking words and phrases? Basically, does it make sense? Then we're moving on to lexical resource, which is a very fancy name for vocabulary. Here, the examiner assesses your ability to use a wide range of vocabulary accurately and appropriately. For example, do you know enough words to answer the question fully? Have you used formal words? Have you spelled words correctly? Have you used the correct form of the words? And the last one, the boogeyman, which is grammatical range and accuracy. Here, the examiner is going to assess your ability to use a range of grammatical structures accurately. Basically, do you know which grammatical structures to use to write your answer? Does your answer use a wide range of simple and complex grammatical structures? Is the grammar of your sentences generally accurate? Again, I have a lot of answers to these questions in some of my shorts and some of my videos, so just take the time to watch them. As I said, I'm going to deal with the marking criteria in more depth in a different podcast. Now, let's move on to strategies. Before the test, just like I've told you for the reading and listening, it's extremely important for you to familiarize with the format of the writing test, to know exactly what you have to do in both parts of the test. And this will make you feel prepared and confident. Yeah. Um, for example, you could read some examples of students writing tasks or other friends who are preparing for IELTS and see what marks they were given and why. Or you can check my YouTube videos where I have task one and task two analysis, where I analyze sample answers and I give you tips and I tell you exactly how you should um, answer fully each question. Time is also very important here. You have to practice doing the writing task within the time limit. Um, from my experience, students often spend too long on task one because, again, they try to include too much information, and this leaves them with too little time to complete task two. And then you panic, and then you don't complete um, the essay, and then damage is caused. If you're looking at task one, it's important to look at the visual material and understand it fully before you start writing. Um, Practice is extremely important, to practice with all types of visual cues, charts, tables, line graphs, maps, and so on, to see how the information is typically laid out. And also a lot of practice identifying the most important pieces of information. In task one, is also important for you to express your ideas clearly in a few words. And this is a key skill. So in my videos, you can use the exercises that I have to practice comparing trends and ideas within the same sentence or between short sentences by using lingo words or phrases and so on and so forth. When you practice writing the tests, it's important to use a stopwatch or a timer or your phone or computer to time yourself. So, time is also very important. Um, if you're dealing with task two topics, it's a very good idea to choose a topic, brainstorm some ideas, and then make a note of them. And do this with as many topics as possible. Practice is extremely important. Um, Also, practice writing plans for different types of questions before you answer them. Make sure you plan uh, to include an introduction, 2 or 3 paragraphs on different aspects of the topic, and most importantly, a conclusion. Reading is also very important. Read in English as often as you can. Use the internet to keep up with the latest news and current affairs. Again, while reading, think about your opinions on the issues, what you might say. This can help you find something to say about a variety of different topics. And as you read about current affairs, it would be a very good idea for you to make a list of words and phrases that relate to that topic. So you have topic specific vocabulary. You can make note of how words are spelled and used. For example, you can write idiomatic expressions they're used in, prepositions, and other words they collocate with. This is very important. During the test, in the test, the tasks appear on the question paper and you write your answers on a separate answer sheet. So there is specific space on the answer sheet for you to write each of the two tasks. You can write on the question paper if you like, but only the answer sheet counts and you won't have enough time. So, yes, both the question paper and the answer sheet are collected, but the question paper are destroyed. Writing is also very important. Write clearly so that the markers can read your writing easily. You can write in cursive or you can in print. Yeah. You can make corrections and changes if you like, but make sure it is clear that you want what you want the examiner to read. So cross it with one line and then write the correct version of the word on top or under. Um, it's extremely important for you to divide your work into paragraphs and make it this clear to the examiner by leaving spaces between paragraphs, or you can indent the first word of each paragraph, but there has to be a clear cut. Um, don't start counting the words, but make sure you write more than minimum words. Yeah, you have to write at least 150 words for task one and at least 250 words for task 2. There is no maximum number of words, but you should focus on writing a clear and correct answer rather than a long one. And if you really you're a stickler and you want to see how many words you've got, you can count the words on each line, and then you can multiply with the number of lines and you can have an average. Yeah, so don't waste time counting words during the test. I mean, y- this is why it's very good for you to practice beforehand, yeah, on the with the actual exam paper, because this helps you to develop a feel for how much you need to write during the actual exam. um, Also very important, remember that the two tasks are not timed separately, but that the question paper advises you to spend 20 minutes on task 1 and 40 minutes on task 2. So it's best to follow this advice. So there is always a clock in the exam room that everyone can see. And again, remember not to spend too long on task 1. This is why it's extremely important for you to practice beforehand and plan, but we'll be talking about later on. Um, After the test, I don't know. I think it's a good idea to reflect on how you performed in the test, but again, don't waste time and energy worrying about any mistakes that you may have made. I mean, what's done is done. That's it. And I think that's kind of it for today about the academic writing tests. I'm going to give you more tips about each type of task 1 and task 2, and how you should be dealing with each type of question. Until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take care of yourself. Bye bye.